There's been a very noticeable shift around Halil Ibrahim San lately, and even people who do not usually pay attention to celebrity energy can feel it. Something about him looks different, not just better styled, not just more polished, not just fitter or more camera ready. The real change feels deeper than that. It looks like ease. It looks like relief. It looks like someone who has stepped out of a long emotional fog and suddenly remembered who he is again. That is why fans have been watching so closely, because this kind of transformation rarely happens in a vacuum. In the world of Turkish entertainment, where every smile gets analyzed and every public appearance becomes a headline, people are used to surface-level reinventions. A new haircut, a sharper wardrobe, a more confident posture. But what has been catching attention here is not just visual. It is the energy behind it. Halil seems lighter, more settled, more genuinely present. And when that kind of authentic shift shows up, people immediately start asking the same question. What changed? For many fans following this closely, the answer feels almost impossible to separate from one name, Sıla Türkoğlu. That is where the conversation has started heating up again, because the timing feels too interesting to ignore. Over the past several weeks, Halil has been appearing with the kind of calm happiness that does not read like performance. He has looked comfortable in his own skin. His expressions have felt less guarded. His body language has looked more open. And in celebrity culture, where so much can be staged, genuine joy is actually one of the hardest things to fake. That is exactly why so many people believe this shift is coming from somewhere personal rather than professional. Then came the evening that pushed the rumors into overdrive. According to the chatter surrounding a recent upscale coastal venue, Halil was seen leaving alone, at least on the surface. He stepped out toward his car with a relaxed confidence that immediately caught attention. He did not look rushed, tense, or irritated by the cameras. If anything, he looked almost unusually calm, like someone leaving a conversation that mattered. And that alone would have been enough to set social media buzzing. But what really turned the moment into fuel for a full-blown reunion theory was what came next. There were whispers that another figure, believed by some observers to strongly resemble Sıla, exited through a more discreet route just minutes earlier. Now, to be clear, that kind of detail belongs in the category of speculation, not confirmation. There's been no official proof that the mysterious second departure was Sıla. But in celebrity news, especially when two people already share a long and emotionally charged history in the eyes of the public, even a detail like that can completely alter the temperature of the conversation. Suddenly, it was not just about Halil looking happy. It was about the possibility that his happiness had a very specific source. And then things became even more interesting when Halil himself reportedly gave a comment that people have not stopped discussing since. When asked about the visible change in him, he did not give the usual answer celebrities often lean on. He did not talk vaguely about health, work, routine, or personal growth in generic terms. Instead, he reportedly said something much more emotionally loaded. He spoke about life giving second chances, about feeling whole again, and about feeling as if he had come home. That last phrase is the one people keep coming back to, because home is never just a word in these situations. When someone speaks that way, especially after a period of visible emotional distance or uncertainty, people instinctively hear more than the literal meaning. Home can be comfort. Home can be peace. Home can be familiarity. But in the language of romance, home is very often a person. And for the fans who have spent years watching the chemistry, the silence, the distance, and the unresolved emotional pull between Halil and Sıla, that word did not sound neutral at all. It sounded personal, deeply personal. That is why this entire conversation is no longer being driven only by rumor pages or fan edits. It is being driven by the feeling that something has changed in a way that is very difficult to dismiss. Because if this were just about publicity, the signs would likely look louder and much more obvious. Instead, what people are reacting to is subtle. A shift in expression, a change in posture, a different kind of smile, a comment that sounds more heartfelt than calculated. Those are the kinds of clues fans trust more than formal statements. And what makes a theory of a reunion even more compelling to many people is that the narrative does not stop with Halil. There's also been growing discussion around Sıla's own recent presence. Those who follow her closely say she, too, seems different, more serene, more centered. more emotionally settled. Not louder, not more dramatic, not more exposed. Just quieter in a way that feels peaceful rather than withdrawn. And that distinction matters. Because when two people who share a history begin to look emotionally aligned again at the same time, fans do not see coincidence. They see pattern. They see parallel movement. They see two emotional arcs possibly finding their way back toward each other. That is one reason these whispers have become so persistent. They are not only based on one sighting or one sentence. They are feeding off a broader feeling that both of them are in a different phase now. One that seems softer, more mature, and possibly more open to return to something they may once have left unfinished. People close to this kind of celebrity narrative often say the public is drawn to second-chance love stories because they feel more real than perfect first attempts. They come with history, mistakes, regret, growth, and the possibility of choosing each other again with clearer eyes. That may be exactly why this rumored Halil and Sıla reconnection has so much emotional force behind it. It is not being imagined as some impulsive romance. It is being imagined as something more adult, something more considered, something built not on idealized fantasy, but on the realization that what felt unfinished once may still matter. That brings us to another detail fans have been reading very closely: social media. In the current entertainment landscape, very few public figures say things directly when they know the internet is watching. Instead, they post in ways that leave room for interpretation. A phrase, a caption, a song lyric, a visual, something that can be brushed off as nothing if needed, but felt as something by the people paying attention. That is why Sıla's recent message about true changes coming from the heart caught so much attention. On its own, the phrase is broad enough to mean many things. But in the context of Halil's visible emotional shift, it landed differently. Suddenly, people were not reading it as just another thoughtful caption. They were reading it as part of a larger emotional conversation happening in public, but in code. And whether that reading is fair or not, it shows just how strongly the audience believes something meaningful may be happening between them again. This is where celebrity culture becomes both fascinating and complicated, because sometimes fans absolutely do overread ordinary moments. That happens, but other times, the people involved really do communicate through timing, tone, and symbolism rather than formal announcements. In a media environment where direct statements can spiral out of control, subtlety becomes a form of power. It lets celebrities keep some ownership over their private lives while still shaping how the public understands them. Halil's transformation also appears to be spilling into his work environment, which only adds more fuel to the idea that whatever is happening is not superficial. Reports from set and from people around him suggest he has been more upbeat, more patient, and more positive overall. That matters because people can fake a red carpet smile for 30 seconds. It is much harder to fake a real change in everyday energy over time, especially in demanding work environments where stress usually reveals the truth pretty quickly. When someone starts arriving with a different emotional rhythm, people notice, colleagues notice, crews notice, the mood changes. And that is exactly the kind of thing fans love to connect to romance, because love, when it is healthy and grounding, really can change a person's entire atmosphere. It affects the way they carry themselves, the way they speak, the way they respond to pressure, even the way they seem to inhabit their own life. Of course, that does not automatically prove Sıla is a reason. That is important to say. A person can become more centered for many reasons: healing, personal growth, family, faith, creative satisfaction, emotional clarity. All of those things can create a visible shift too. But what makes fans so convinced in this case is that the emotional language surrounding Halil's change seems to point toward connection rather than just self-improvement. Feeling whole again, feeling at home. Those are not phrases people usually reach for when they are simply talking about going to gym or getting more sleep. And that is why the seaside meeting rumor continues to matter so much. Whether it turns out to be fully true or only partially accurate, it fits the emotional logic people are already seeing. Two people with a past, a quiet setting away from noise, a private conversation rather than a public spectacle, the possibility of vulnerability replacing distance. It sounds exactly like the kind of encounter that would explain why someone suddenly starts looking like life has become lighter. Fans have even begun imagining what that conversation might have felt like. Not because they know, but because the emotional timing invites that kind of speculation. Two people sitting across from each other after time apart. Talking not as headlines, not as symbols, not as a fan favorite pairing, but simply as Halil and Sıla. Speaking honestly, putting pride aside, admitting what still lingers, acknowledging what was lost, and maybe, just maybe, choosing not to lose more time. That is a fantasy, of course, but is a fantasy rooted in real emotional logic. Because if these two are reconnecting, it would not be in a loud, reckless way people often associate with celebrity romances. It would likely be careful, quiet, mature, private. Exactly, because both of them know too well what public attention does to fragile emotions. There is also talk of a possible trip, a private getaway that could give them space away from the city, away from cameras, and away from the constant pressure being watched. Again, that remains unconfirmed, but the rumor persists because it fits the pattern people think they are seeing. If there is a second chance unfolding here, it would make sense for it to begin away from everyone else, away from the noise, away from a need to perform certainty before certainty is fully formed. And maybe that is what people are really responding to more than anything else. Not just the possibility of romance, but the possibility of a love that survived silence. A love that did not disappear just because it became difficult. A love that may have needed time, space, and growth before it could return in a healthier form. Those are the stories audiences hold on to the hardest, because they feel emotionally earned. That is also why Halil's current image is so compelling. He does not just look good, he looks emotionally restored. And when someone appears restored rather than simply improved, people start searching for the source of that restoration. In his case, many have decided the source has a name, Sıla Türkoğlu. Whether they are right remains to be seen. There is still no official confirmation, no couple photo, no direct statement, no formal reunion announcement. And that silence matters. It means there is still room for caution. It means people should resist turning hope into certainty too quickly. But it also means the mystery stays alive. And in some ways, that may be exactly how both of them would prefer for now. Because if this is real, if there really is a second chapter beginning here, it may be at its most precious while it is still private, before it becomes a headline, before it becomes content, before it gets picked apart by strangers who only see the surface. What is undeniable is that something has shifted. Halil looks different in a way that feels difficult to fake. Sıla seems calmer in a way that has caught attention. Their names are once again moving in the same emotional orbit, and the public, especially the fans who have never quite let go of the idea that these two belong in each other's story, can feel that momentum building. So now all eyes are on the little things. Shared locations, overlapping schedules, similar moods, subtle online posts. The kind of clues that, taken alone, mean very little, but together begin to form a pattern too strong to ignore. That is where things stand now. Not at certainty, but at possibility. Not at confirmation, but at emotional evidence. Not at the end of the story, but perhaps at the beginning of a second act. And maybe that is why this has resonated so deeply. Because people want to believe in second chances. They want to believe that distance does not always mean the end. They want to believe that some people really can find their way back to the place that feels like home. If Halil's current happiness is telling the truth, then something meaningful has entered his life again. If the signs around Sıla are part of the same truth, then this may be one of those rare celebrity moments where the audience is not just watching gossip unfold. They are watching a possible reunion take shape in real time, carefully, quietly, and with more emotional depth than the usual headlines ever allow. For now, all anyone can do is watch. But people are watching very closely. And if the next few days bring even one more sign, one more overlap, one more revealing phrase, the entire conversation could move from hopeful theory to something much more concrete. Until then, one thing feels clear. Halil Ibrahim Ceyhan is not carrying himself like a man stuck in the past. He is carrying himself like someone who has found his direction again. And for a lot of people, that direction leads back to Sıla.